Dr. Kris, they're here. They're here.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome. Happy Friday. We made it. Tonight's show is sponsored by expired condoms and dental dams and the person you just haven't met. My name is Kris. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm a Leo with Aquarius moon. I'm 5'7", 130. Well, that was pre-pandemic weight, but muscle weighs more, right? And I'm an Enneagram 7. I'm a Myers-Briggs ENFP. And, like we all have baggage, but I feel like my baggage is relatively small, like maybe like fanny pack version or like maybe a small backpack. We all have baggage and, some of us are rolling in these like big hard cased rolly wear luggages into our dating life and relationships. So tonight, I just want to start with a trigger warning that whether you're single in COVID or you're coupled up, it's all hard. It's all difficult. And I feel like COVID time is kind of like dog years. So it's like we've been single with forced celibacy for 7 years. And if you're coupled up, it's the 7-year itch already, even if you're just a brand new couple. So it's all really difficult in the time of COVID. And, a lot of people are saying, oh, if only I could find my true love. I just want to find my soulmate. And I'm like, I just want to get a text back. And you only need to be like 25% normal. So I decided, like so many of us, I think, just struggling to figure this all out, that I was going to take a risk and I was going to embark on my own experiment. And I decided to put up a profile on the dating app. So I'm going to share it with you now. And I think I need to, let's see, be enabled so I can share this. Let's see. All right, here we go. I'm going to try this again. Here we go. So I'm going to show you the risk that I took in my profile here. So here we go. So here I am. And I listed probably arguably the most daring things about myself, that I'm a psychotherapist and a comedian. And I think these are like the worst things to say because, for one, people will always expect that I can share them up. And also, they're going to worry that I'm either going to overanalyze them because I'm a therapist, or that I'm going to make them the butt of a joke. And, comedians and therapists are also notoriously known for being a little bit messed up. We're all a little bit off. And so I think I took a risk here with this, and I'll show you just a couple of, let's see here. I'm going to grab my second profile pic here. So this is what I put. I'm conducting research for my comedy and mental health show. I'm half joking and 100% serious. And then a review by a friend says she's the good kind of weird. So you guys can be the judge of that tonight. I'm going to pull my friends in just a little bit. They're experts on all of this, and they're going to help me find my way with this. And hopefully we're going to help all of you find your way as well. Use the chat box as you're going. And we're going to be pulling everybody in at the end for some discussion. So welcome to the conversation. You know, and for me as a therapist too, it's like, it's not easy to date because I'm constantly overanalyzing things and I'm reading between the lines. So as I started to go through my study, you know, I saw these different trends and I wanted to, you know, just be cautious that I wasn't like overthinking as a therapist or like letting my anxiety get the best of me. So, you know, this is kind of like, I'm curious if you guys are also trying to read between the lines on what people put up on their profiles. So for me, when they say no meds, I'm thinking, that might not necessarily be a good thing. Or when they say amicably divorced, I'm thinking your ex is a stalker. Or when they say entrepreneur or self-employed, I'm thinking unemployed. Or I'm just a normal, tall, fit man. You're 5'2" and on parole. Or when they say clean sexual health, you know, they got chlamydia. And then I'm trying to also analyze all these fish pictures that are there. And I felt like there was only one example that it felt appropriate, which was the person saying, I'm a captain at commercial fishing. So I'm like, okay, what's with the psychology of the fish stuff? Like, are they trying to demonstrate like their hunter-gatherer prowess and like trying to say like, I can go out and get our food for us? And I don't know, I'm kind of like, I'll just go to Whole Foods and get my salmon. I'm good. So again, luckily, I'm really lucky that I have, this tells you a lot, but most of my friends are therapists and psychiatrists, and they help me with my good kind of weird endorsement. I'm going to pull them in a minute, but I want to get your COVID love pulse too. So we're going to launch a little poll, and tonight you're going to get a chance to interact with all of us. We're all experts. We have a lot of cumulative experience, both in professional and personal realms. And we're going to give you the real stories tonight behind our own follies in love and life. So we want to know what's up with you guys too. And we're going to just launch this poll now to help us understand what best describes your COVID love life. So number one is, I've heard from more exes in the last year than the past decade. Number two, I'm so touch deprived, everyone I see looks like a bag of fries and I'm the seagull. The only thing keeping me sane is my vibrator of the month membership. And number four, after the lockdown, I never want to see my partner again. So, all right, looks like we're already getting 9% voting. Let's see what's going on for you guys out there coming up to this 1 year of COVID love. We got half of the votes in. My friend Jen says she's an ENFP, of course. 71% votes. Any seagulls out there? Give us your best seagull impersonation. All right, we're going to have our work cut out for us tonight. Good thing that you guys are surrounded by professional support tonight. I will say though that tonight is not a substitute for medical advice in this seriously funny show. All right, so I think we had everybody weigh in. Let's end the poll and you guys will be able to see the results here. So wow, so what's going on? Well, there's a tie. So you guys have been hearing from your exes and you are the seagulls tonight. We're gonna call you guys the seagulls. And then the vibrators are coming in next, and I never want to see my partner again. All right. All right, this is good. This is helpful material for us all to work with. I think we definitely have our work cut out for us. Okay. Just to give you guys, if you want to snapshot that there. Thank you, Gabby. Gabby's behind the scenes. Shout out to Gabby for her help. And if you guys want to flag her down in the chat, if you're having any tech issues, just let her know. She's the best. All right, so I want to pull up two of my best friends, colleagues, soul sisters, they are, you know, that they're bright and amazing if they can handle friendship with me and they can help me navigate all this. So I'm going to call them in. And we're going to get into it now. We're going to talk a little bit about all the situations that can occur out there and hopefully bring some levity to the situation. So Ying and Kathy, Doctors Ying and Kathy, come on in. And I really need your help, guys. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. It's wonderful to see you both. You look amazing as always. Look at the lighting and the ambiance. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Dr. Ying, I feel like we can blame this all on you because I wanted to share with everyone a little vignette, a little story. A couple of years ago, we were getting to know each other and we went out and saw a wonderful show. Remember we could see shows?
Yes.
And we had dinner. And, you know, we were just sharing a little bit about our dating life and our situations. And you encouraged me to go on the dating apps at the time. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I was horrified. I'm like, I don't know, like, I don't want like my privacy to be disrupted. Or I think like so many people out there, you can almost just feel like a little bit of shame, like almost like, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I having a hard time finding people? And then you just really ease my mind in like 0.02 seconds and, you know, start to share some of your own experiences with that. And so, you know, after just thinking about it, I'm like, this will be a perfect show for us to kind of unpack, you know, all the different things that are out there and, you know, how we can kind of work through the complexity of loneliness and finding connection, meaningful connection for all of us. And Kathy too, you know, we're going to pull your story into because you have a really unique dating story and you have a lot of great perspectives to pull in. So we're going to have a lot of fun discussing this, but I wanted to start with Ying and just, you know, kind of like what helped you break through any potential trepidation or like, you know, apprehension to get into the online dating world? Like, so how was it for you? And, you know, kind of like, you know, why did you feel like you wanted to get on and use it as a tool?
Yeah, so I guess probably mostly two reasons. One is I was in a relationship for quite some time and kind of missed the initial dating online. So you know, in the early 2000s, I guess when dating online happened, I was already in a relationship. But back then, I remember thinking and there was a lot of shame, right, about kind of meeting online. It's not the most romantic start and such. And I remember thinking, now this is a bit of the analytical engineer in me thinking, let's just think about the numbers, right, and the odds and the probability. And I think here we are trying to be unique and develop our individuality, our interests, our you know, various experiences. So if anything, I think we're becoming more and more differentiated. So then I'm thinking, and of course, engineer thinks bell curves. So I think, you know, if we're kind of based on our experiences and such, is on such tip end of the bell curve, then the chance of meeting somebody else in that end will require a very large pool, a larger pool than somebody, you know, who's kind of quote unquote more generic, right? So I think from there, it just really made a lot of sense that to kind of meet somebody who, you know, share a lot of the interest experiences and the vibe and whatever else is important. It just have to hit that critical number first. And you know, whether it's online dating or now it's app dating, that's where I think the pool of possibilities starts. And then, you know, then the rest, meeting in person and getting to know each other and all that still happen. But I think unless that person, you have a chance to meet that person somewhere, then the rest is not going to happen, period. So.
And I remember, you know, like, I love it. I feel like you're like this is such a unique take and it's not one that I had heard before. You had shared that with me. And also it makes me think about like, just even as professionals, like one thing for all of us in our work, we're not going to date our patients.
Yeah.
We're not
Right.
going to, I know I teach, I'm not going to date students.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know we talked about this before, but like it in the US, it's more taboo than across culture to date.
Absolutely.
Right? Like you wouldn't date a colleague at work, right?
Right. And probably more inappropriate than ever, right? Or at least there's a lot more sensitivity around even expressing genuine appreciation for a coworker in ways beyond like the routine colleague relation. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So again, I
Time is
think,
thin, right? It's like there's like not a lot of, with work and everything.
mhm.
Obviously now with COVID, it's not, you can't just go out and organically meet someone.
Yeah, yeah.
And Kathy, you met someone organically on the tennis court, your partner, your current partner, but you also rely on technology because why?
Because he lives halfway across the country. So, I feel like even though I met him organically, like you said, I'm kind of in this online world, that other people find themselves at the front end of the relationship, find themselves online. But we're 8 years in actually, doing a long distance online relationship.
And you guys have I know you have very precise times you call, like you have a very structured way of approaching it so that it works for you.
Right. And that's not something for everybody. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, it's interesting because like, Ying was saying, you can meet a lot of people online, you know what I mean? But then like to narrow it down, that's where the challenging part I think comes in. So one of our the audience said the odds might be good, but the goods might be odd. Kind of cute.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yes, you need both hands. Yeah.
I'm going to pull up the chat box too so I can see you guys because we're going to be interacting as we go, and then we're going to have a full-on like Q&A and pull everybody on at the end. The other thing I wanted the audience to know about you, Ying, is that you were recently engaged and you found your wonderful fiance on, was it Coffee Meets Bagel?
Yes, it is.
Who's the coffee and who's the bagel?
That part maybe we'll all take turns. I'm not sure, but definitely one more data point to the potential benefits of putting ourselves out there and be authentic and be open to meet interesting people.
I love it. So we are, so we're offering a little tapestry of experience here for me as a single queer woman. So I date men and women. Kathy, you're in a long distance relationship, and Ying, you were recently engaged. So, and we obviously, again, are going to leverage our professional expertise as well. But as friends, I thought maybe you guys could help me with my dating profile, because you saw what I had already. She's the good kind of weird research study. I don't know how compelling it was. So you guys know me very well. I'm just going to read a few things I wrote. And obviously I don't want to be cliche or, like too literal. So I'm going to just ask what you guys think. And maybe you could coach me a little bit. Would that be okay?
Sure.
All right. So we'll start with this. I've never listened to a full Celine Dion song or watched a Hallmark movie.
You won't get many romantics that way.
All right. How about I'll show you guys. I sleep with a notebook.
A lot of thoughts. Yeah.
Is that desperation or is that creativity?
I vote for creativity for sure.
Okay.
The popcorn brain, right? That was our phrase.
The popcorn brain is very alive and well. Kathy?
Or maybe a brainiac, right? You got lots of thoughts.
All right. That's a good reframe. This is why you guys are my friends. How about this one? I put the H in ADHD.
That's a great one. Yeah, right up on my alley. Yeah.
I think it's pretty true. It's a good forewarning. All right, here's one. If you ghost me, I won't be upset, but I will want to know the psychological reasons why.
Absolutely. Yeah. Ask for a feedback session, right?
Feedback. I want to
talk about the ghosting.
I want to interview everybody right now. It's like I've been chatting with a few people. I'm like, I'm doing the show, but I still want to connect with you. And I've got some people that might come in later and talk. So that would be fun. All right, this is also a trend right now. A lot of people are putting that they're COVID vaccinated. Like that's how everyone's going to get ahead. The sooner you get a vaccine, the sooner you're going to find love. But I thought maybe I'd put, like I'm STI and COVID negative, and I'm COVID and HPV vaccinated. I think that could be a winner.
Please don't tell me you're not walking around town with that on.
I think I need to take Crackin up to the streets and just see like the reactions.
Oh my goodness.
I have other ones too, but I don't know if I'm gonna bring them on the show. Let's see. I thought about this one.
Available.
All right. So, and then, this is another trend I saw too, though. Watch out, everyone. Don't say that you're COVID positive, meaning that you don't have it, because like you got to be careful whether you say negative, positive to make sure you fully explain that one. All right. Then I thought this would be important. If I am going to let people know I'm a therapist, I am a therapist, so I will understand your issues, but I'm not planning to be on duty 24/7. So I need to level set.
That's a very good thing to say right up front.
All right, how about this? This is for you guys. 85% of my best friends are psychiatrists and therapists. So no pressure when you meet them. Like you got to be willing to have a full battery of psychological examination.
That's right, yeah. But what do it with very kind, with a lot of kindness, right?
I can attest
And empathy.
All right, this shows a pet peeve of mine. So let me know if you guys think this translates. Please do not call me a full package. I don't want to be put in a box, and I'm not deliverable by UPS. And I think for me, it's just that whole thing of like, we're people, and I worry in dating culture, it's like swipe left. It's so transactional. We objectify people. And like, we kind of think, okay, like if you check all these boxes, like you're this full package. And I feel like it's kind of dehumanizing. So that's why I put that. All right, here's my last one. I want to know how the audience feels about this too. If you have the same name as my son, daughter, mother, father, or any of my exes, I'm going to swipe left. And it's like, that's just too weird. So that's an automatic disqualification. Because I think the other thing is, think about when you're out there and you're vulnerable, you're taking the risk of putting yourself out there, and then people aren't liking you back and you don't know why. You could just like have their mother's name or father's name, and they just like, eh.
There's so many reasons.
There's so many reasons
that might have nothing to do with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like anything else you guys think I didn't include that would help bolster my profile, so to speak? David likes my profile.
It's fun.
Ain't nobody got time for that. See, I'm like catching up. I'm like 10 minutes behind on the chat. All right. Anything else? I know, Ying, you had a suggestion for me about the recovering perfectionism.
Yeah, I was going to mention, yes. That's actually one of the things I remember you the most from the first time we met.
Yeah.
You were doing your talk on your book. And I remember thinking, wow, this colleague and professor and seemingly very interesting author was very, very forthcoming and candid and taking a stride. I was really kind of surprised, and I think also very inspired by that kind of openness, because you were also talking in front of a lot of your students, right, who came for that book talk. And I was thinking, that's kind of my equivalent of telling things about myself in front of my patients, I think, in some ways, which I think I'm starting to think more, maybe that boundary does not have to be so, the wall doesn't have to be so high.
Well, I think, just even like our friendships, and just, I think about so many people in my life, it's like when we can show up as our true selves. And, I think again, in the dating world, it's so vulnerable, but I think the more we can be ourselves, the more we're going to enjoy our lives, and then figure out, what does love look like? And I think even one of the messages for tonight is, it's not always just about finding like that ideal partner, but it's also like the structures that work for you, the activities that you love, the values you have and that you care about, how you show up in the world. And I think even just sometimes I think the self-love movement can get a little kumbaya and a little trite, but I kind of also feel like that point of like just loving yourself and accepting yourself in all of your humanity, like your flaws, your struggles, whether you have backpacks, whether you have big rollies, because we all have trauma in our relationships and in our lives. And I think that was a trend I saw, like I'm seeing right now on the dating apps. So I want to just, I see like a lot of people saying like, oh, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for COVID. I can see like that whole like shame factor. And I think COVID has helped many of us be more honest even about whether it's our mental health struggles, our relationship struggles, loneliness. Loneliness is seen as the new smoking, the health risk of today. So I think that like helps me. I'm writing a book, my third book right now, about taking risks. So I have to do this. If this is like what I want my students or those I serve in therapy, or this is how I want to live my life, I kind of have to just take those risks. And I believe it. So, you know, that's kind of why I'm up to all this. The other, I wanted to tell you guys about this too. I wanted to ask Kathy about this one. So another thing I saw as a trend on the dating app is that third grade teachers are mean. So there's like a prompt and it asks you like, what did your third grade teacher say? So these are some of the responses that I gathered in my data. So my third grade teacher called me a little shit.
Oh.
She retired after she had me. The love child of Satan and Marilyn Manson. Nothing, annoying, and amounting to nothing.
That was harsh. Yeah.
Isn't that awful? So
I'm
I'm
just
just like,
the annoying one, you know, but amounting to nothing, that's, you know, a whole nother.
so should we be wary, guys? Like if we see like these kinds of labels on third graders? I mean, my third grade teacher hated me. I used to get up every 2 minutes to sharpen my pencil. Like I was a good student, but I was like, because I love the smell of pencils.
And the letter H, right? Like you're putting ADHD.
This was in the 80s. There were no referrals back then. I needed a referral.
Right, yeah.
And that H is still around, by the way.
Yeah.
Just in
Yeah,
case
so
you didn't realize it.
So I guess you're saying like don't pay too much heed if someone had a bad third grade experience, doesn't like, you know.
Absolutely.
It really depends on how someone processed it, right? Like there are some people, I mean, I know I heard of a story where somebody like put that negative statement or whatever like up, and it motivated that person to really achieve their goals because they were so. And I know like I actually had a teacher say something really I think awful to me, you know, and it really motivated me to do better. It was a gender thing. Guys, boys are smarter than girls. I was like, really?
Hell no.
we're gonna test that one.
Yeah. And then she goes on to Brown and like wins every award there is. Yeah. Or next thing you'll be like, bye, don't you brag about me. No, and I think that's the thing. It's like all those, I think that's something we all see in our work, and how we approach our work is from a strengths-based lens. And I see again in the dating app, like so many of, again, those traumas represented. And then especially like, I was telling Ying and Kathy before about a time I had dated someone, and then we were supposed to meet again, and I had a sore throat. And so I said, like, I'm so sorry, I have to cancel last minute. And I hate canceling, you know. And then they like got really mad, and they were like, we had this text exchange, and I was like really upset because I'm like, don't they even care that I have a sore throat? And then later we came back and we communicated about it, and they said that they just had that happen to them so many times. So that's the other thing about this, is it can be like a battlefield of love in the online virtual app world. And I have a friend, Kris, who she's been online dating for a while. I hope she can come into the conversation later, because she was just telling me just some of the perils of yesteryear, where there was like no pictures, or, you know, like, I know we can like look on LinkedIn. I had this one example of someone who was saying like, I'm 44 years old. And then I looked on LinkedIn, it was like their resume, like if that was true, that means they graduated college when they were like 10. I'm like, liar. But I also see this, another like research category that came out for me is what I call glad you forewarned me, or level setting. So you can already see almost like a defensiveness coming into the relationship right in someone's profile. So one is like, you understand football Sundays, or I'm not here for a pen pal. Or this one, I'm mostly normal, sometimes manic. I could probably steal that one.
Thank you.
Or no hookups unless you're hooking me up with pizza or ice cream or hamburgers. And then this one I thought was like, wow. It says, please, no filler, Botox, Cabela, or plastic surgery. I'm looking for natural beauty and a decent character. If you are also smart and educated, I will probably marry you. I appreciate if you are at least 40% consistent with your pick. Insta girls, please swipe left. I'm tired of taking your pick. So I've seen that whole picture fatigue thing. Like people are like, stop putting the filters on, no more selfies. Again, I talked about the fish pictures being a little problematic, at least for me. But I like to get my salmon otherwise. But yeah, so there's like kind of this like whole like behavior around, you know, just kind of level setting. I thought this one was super funny. I'm not photogenic. Disclaimer. So what a nice, pleasant surprise awaits. But I thought now we could also, I also found some really beautiful ones. And I think tonight, as we all think about this together and we get into some discussion, just remembering like someone might be putting something out and it might be off-putting, but they might not mean it in a bad way. It just might be they're carrying some trauma, or they're just trying to be very precise about what their needs are and what they're looking for, because we're all so different. The tapestry of love is so beautiful and diverse. So these for me kind of like gave me that little pitter patter, or I thought that they were sweet. So I wanted to share them. And then I want the audience to vote on if any of these were your favorites at all. So I call this You Had Me At. And Gabby's going to launch it for us. Oh, Kathy's asking about the fish pictures. Yes. You obviously are not on dating apps. All right, so the first one is doesn't matter where or what we do, it's all about good conversation. I'm not looking for someone to sleep with, but someone I can't sleep without. A wild love from a gentle soul. I'm looking for someone who understands that life's small moments aren't really small. Kindness, laughter, foot rubs, and any meal with potatoes as the star. I'm like a potato fiend. Any help with keeping my plants alive would be greatly appreciated. Ying is the plant master.
Yeah.
So we've got 45% of the votes in here. Isn't this a fun election? Isn't this a fun poll?
Oh, I guess we can't vote. I was trying to click.
Like, yes,
Yeah.
What would you vote for?
I think we were talking about earlier the plants. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of sweet when a guy, I think of taking care of his plants and then thinking of having an extra backup, right, in their dates as another person who will help to take care of his beloved plants.
I love it. Kathy, what would you pick? What would make you what would swoon you?
Probably all of them. I don't know, I'm trying to think.
So screenshot it, you guys, if you like it, because these are good good starters.
I would say probably looking for someone who understands that life's small moments that aren't really small.
Right, says the mindfulness expert. Right. Yeah, so Gabby's going to share the results so we can actually see where everyone's situated. So wow, you guys were like really wowed by not looking for someone to sleep with, but someone can't sleep without a wild love from a gentle soul. Even though you guys are seagulls and you're sex deprived, you want someone you can't sleep without as well. I love it. And then we see a tie about conversation, understanding, like Kathy said, life's small moments aren't small. That like, I want a t-shirt that says that. I love it. And then it looks like you guys were tied for foot rubs and potatoes and plants. Awesome. Thanks, Gabby, for the poll for us. And yeah, I just thought those were like great examples, and they didn't have that like jaded residue all over them. You know, there were some that had a lot of residue, a lot of like jaded residue. And so I wanted to share a couple of those, and ones that kind of like what I would call this category when icebreakers turn to deal breakers. All right, so you ready for this one? There was a person wearing a hat, a red hat, and I know you guys are going to think I'm going to say a MAGA hat, but it was a red hat, and it said on it, "I pee in pools." I'm like, let's life. Then this might have been the creepiest one. So the person said that they're a financial intelligence officer, which is really intimidating to me because I'm terrible at math and I'm like not the best with money. So this is their whole like hook. Ready for this? They're like, I live alone, like play the violins. I live alone in a condo on a beach 10 miles north of Boston, which is code for like Revere, right? And then it's like, if you like the sound of the ocean and awesome views. But then they go on to say, I creep on creeps' bank accounts. So if we get divorced, you won't be able to hide your assets.
Ooh.
What kind is this? Like, we got to send them some books to read.
That was scary.
Yeah, that was what I called like icebreakers turn to deal breakers, or what I might have also called, no, thank you. No. And then the other one that was kind of creepy, or not kind of creepy, like way creepy, is I have a pet rabbit. Okay. He has a cute ass. Okay. Bye. And then, so people like say these really strange things. And then this was another one where I'm like, could you guys be a little more specific, please? Okay. Because I feel like the level of specificity was lacking. So here we go. And I know you guys are going to have a good analysis on this one. I am what I am, and that's all I am. It's like Dr. Seuss poetry here. I work hard, play hard, and rest harderer. This is direct quote. I like going out when I'm not in. I like to cook when I don't eat out. I like to walk when I'm not driving. I like to stand when I'm not sitting. No expectations, but something real would be nice. So why do you think someone put that up?
I don't know. Sounds like they enjoy everything.
I suspect they will be the one choosing the conversation is everything. Good conversation. Sounds like it's a very, will lead to a lot of open-ended questions.
They're multidimensional. Is that what I'm saying? I thought they were just not like, I'm like, make up your mind.
But
Yeah,
I
take it that way too.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you gotta, think about how you read between the lines, because the intention could be different. But here's one that I thought could be way more specific. So it literally said, deal breaker, smoking. So I'm like, can I smoke? Should I not smoke? Like, you gotta just clarify that, just like COVID positive or COVID negative.
Right. Are you supposed to smoke, or is he
Yeah, if I don't
smoking
smoke,
or she's
fine.
smoking and you're not supposed to say anything about it?
I mean, I have a deep voice, but I don't smoke. All right. And then this is another one too. It said 6-1 Cancer. So I'm like, is that your zodiac sign, or are you sick?
Yeah.
But, before we invite the audience to kind of jump in and share stories and perspectives and ask us questions, I just wanted to ask each of you, like, what is important to you in a relationship? Because we talked about this on our pre-call, and I know for myself, for me, what's really important is that the person is creative and, fun to be around, obviously, that they have a deep commitment to social change and social justice and impact. So those are like just a couple of things, obviously chemistry. Those are like really big criteria, and they're really important to me. But I'm just curious, what's important to each of you in your relationships?
Do you want me to go first? So for me, I mean, I want someone that I can do fun things with and likes to do the same things that I like to do. But probably like maybe like really way up there on the list for me is, the person really needs to be emotionally intelligent enough to be able to, when they're rip roaring mad at me, they can calm down and communicate, calmly with me, so that we can kind of get to the other side and figure things out. And, that's probably one of the hardest things. Like I'm thinking about, like, if I were to, if I ended up back online, having a date online or whatever, that's one of those things that's really hard to get up front, right? So like, you want to put a profile together, everybody puts all their positive things together, positive list and whatnot, but nobody's going to say like, well, if I get in a fight with you, I'm calling you the B word and this and that, you know, like that's not going to happen. You're only going to find that out in real time,
Right.
you know?
Well, I
So,
would say too, it takes a long time to get to know someone.
mhm.
And I think that part, if you're, you know, I feel like I'm this mix of like I'm like a hopeless romantic, but then I'm very like, you know, I like overthink things and I'm intellectual. And it's easy sometimes, like your feelings can kind of like cause you to fall quickly in love, or just like, you know, love is blind, as they say. But I think it does take time to get to know someone and to like really allow for like you to be able to gather that kind of data around
Mhm.
what that responsiveness is going to be.
Yeah. And I do
So
think,
anything.
I do think a lot of, and this might come from my sort of biracial background,
Mhm.
I do feel like a lot of people in there's a I don't know, I don't want to stereotype or, you know, have a generalization, but I think many people are attracted to people who are somewhat like, you know, have a lot of similarities to them, right?
Mhm.
For me, it's not necessary. Like I want to share, like I want us to have good activities together, you know, share like pastime activities, but you don't necessarily have to believe what I believe. You don't you know, the person doesn't necessarily, you know, because I think there's, um, you know, I don't necessarily, I think because I grew up and I didn't have examples of people like me around because I was such a rarity as a biracial person. Um,
Mhm.
you know, I don't kind of need that reflection. I don't need to be with somebody who reflects back to me like who I am.
Mhm.
And so I think it, you know, it allows me maybe a little bit more uh, bandwidth, I guess. I don't know, or you know, to just expand my choices, I guess.
Mhm.
I don't know, but and hopefully that doesn't sound, you know, because I know like a lot of people that that kind of stuff really means a lot.
Mm. Well, I
Uh,
think it's just a great example, though. Like, again, like we all have different values and priorities, and it's based
yeah,
on our whole developmental history and the identities we hold, um,
right,
and you know how that impacts what our needs are.
right.
And
And I think everybody just needs to make their own list,
yeah,
right? Like, and it's important, I think, to not have anybody else influence your list, right? Because you're the person that has to live with this other person,
mhm,
right? And so, you know, if you are listening to other people like, oh, well, you know, he doesn't do enough of this or enough of that or whatever, but those things aren't on your list,
mhm,
it's like, you know, you might get with someone for the wrong reasons.
mhm.
You
Yeah,
know what I mean? You really want to be true to what you really value as a person and what you want in your life. And, you know, and you may want someone who reflects and supports kind of who you are. And you may want somebody who challenges you. You know, it just depends on and expands your vision and, you know, challenges your thinking and all of that.
I love
So,
that. And you know, it's like one of the things, you know, you're hitting on is something that worries me, and I know we've all conversed about, is this whole thing of, again, not only in dating app culture, but Instagram culture, social media. Sometimes I worry people are picking partners like just for that, like I call it like wifey propaganda, or like I call it like, you know, just that whole thing of like I can show up and like brag about my partner, or just like that whole like couple thing. I think I wrote an article around Valentine's Day about this, but it just was like, you know, just that whole notion of like why you're with someone, is it to look good, or do you really feel a connection? You know, so whether it's like their pedigree or their physical appearance or how much money they have, like what drives
mhm,
those decisions. And I think again, that's very personal to all of us. Like, and I think just that honesty about what we need and want, but watching out for society's illusions and traps to think if you marry rich, if you marry this or that, or if they have this degree or that,
yeah.
it makes them be a great partner. So Ying, in a couple of minutes, we're going to invite the audience to just weigh in on this too. But what would you define as like your priorities or your values as a newly engaged person?
Oh gosh, I do think if we're to kind of write down the list, it, it's a pretty long list, I would say. But I do think that maybe it boils down to I mean, I think in some ways very similar to the communication, but maybe taking it one step further, that somebody who enjoys teamwork together, you
Uh-huh.
know, who enjoys going through life with good company, who enjoys like problem solving things together and improvise, on the spot, and who would kind of engage if you give them a little crazy idea to do, that they would at least make an attempt, and just kind of meet each other in the middle on average. But there's a lot of give and take. And I think that kind of dynamic is kind of dancing in some ways, right? There's a back and forth and back and forth. And I think that there's something really, really fun about that, and keeps the relationship, I think, really fresh as well as adventurous, and helps to combat, some of the stressors that couples will inevitably deal with more than they deal with people outside of their immediate family. And yeah, so I think somebody who, I think along that same line, maybe it's after good communication, after a good fight, if you will, to be able to come out of a fight feeling, things are resolved, and that you see subsequent changes, again, on both sides, meeting more in the middle, rather than lip service or not even, or can't come to agreement about what the fight might be to begin with. Yeah. So, but I do think there's a lot of, like kind of meeting in the middle, and that person who wants to make the effort to kind of meet you in the middle, and engage, or do actually, maybe let me correct that. It's not meeting in the middle. I think it ends up being the middle. But it's more about, meeting, doing whatever it takes to keep the, the relationship healthy and vibrant. And sometimes it's more on one side, and sometimes it's more on the other side. So the average is actually exactly, let me correct myself. The average is exactly probably what is what not to look for, because then it will potentially feel very transactional, right? There's a lot of evaluating, is this person doing enough for me, and am I getting the best deal I can, and such. Rather, I think it's more, whatever the gap is, recognize the gap, and have fun problem solving, and whoever can kind of close the gap some more on this particular occasion, do that, and trust you will kind of balance out in the end, and rather than like scorekeeping. So
I love it. I love how you both put that, and I feel like that theme of just like, the communication, like, because I think we can be conflict adverse. I know for myself too. I mean, like, I'm an expert in communication, and I feel like, I've worked with so many people in therapy through the years, and sometimes I have trouble like saying what I need, or like I try, sometimes I want to avoid conflict, and I struggle with that. And I think you both really just demonstrate, like, just again, how important it is to get comfortable with the uncomfortable sometimes. And that's what really can like show you the quality of the relationship and the connection. I have to say, before we open up to the audience too, one of my favorite stories is the time when you and Rob were walking and you dropped the iPhone in the crack in the waterfront.
Yes.
Yeah. And then she's telling me like, oh yeah, like the phone, I lost the phone and it's down in the crack, and it's like, and I'm like, only Ying. And then they go the next day with like, what, like you had like a fishing, like you got it out. So was this like, was this like what still like consummated the relationship, the fishing out of the phone? Oh
my God, that was such an event and ordeal. I almost forgot about this. I think there were just so many, little moments, and maybe not so little moments like this, that I think really cemented things. But speaking of kind of good communication, and it was definitely a lot of teamwork to get that thing out. I mean, the phone was deep in a crack along the along the bus.
I don't know anybody else that could have pulled this.
It was more than a feet between a crack that was, less than a quarter of an inch. I mean, we had rulers, we had a bunch of tools. We went to Home Depot to get a bunch of tools. And I don't even know the names for those tools because I don't use it. But basically we duct tape things to like get the phone out and help it to kind of come up the rock. But speaking of communication being positive too, one thing I was very grateful for is that, Rob not kind of blaming me, saying, I told you this will happen. Yeah. Or like, because, I do like to stay on the edge and feel life at its fullest. So if I weren't so close to the edge, it wouldn't have gone in that crack. But, once it happened, I was very...
But you didn't get, I told you so. But
Yeah,
see,
right,
so
exactly.
everybody go out with on your date, drop your phone in a crack.
And see his reaction.
For advice for tonight. But listen, I want to pull everybody in. So what I did is, so what I want to ask you guys in the chat box, just to kind of warm you guys up to coming on with us, is I just want to ask you, like, what's important to you? Is it similar education, economic potential level, shared life goals? If you drop your cell phone in the crack, you're not going to get mad. Is it political or religious affiliation, chemistry? So just if you guys want to like share in the chat box. And then I'm going to pull you guys all in right now. So Gabby's going to help if you want to come on camera. Cracking Up is really a community here. We're really working to reduce stigma. And I think, obviously that comes with mental health issues, but also, relationships are among the most protective things in our mental health. And love is hard. It's so difficult, whether you're coupled, whether you're single, you're somewhere in between all of that, understanding ourselves, resolving our traumas that we bring, commitment, not like all of it is just really hard. And so we want to bring you guys in. And anybody, if you have stories about your online dating experiences or questions for Doctors Katmak and Ying, or for me, this is the time. So your camera should be enabled. Is anyone brave enough to come hang out with us right now? I know we're very scary.
Enjoy the shake food.
Everybody leaves. Bye. Come on,
Can't
guys.
click that leave fast enough, right?
Yeah, I'm like looking back on this too, on some of the chat conversation. But what's important to you guys? Does anybody want to like accepting each other for who you are? Yes. Raise your hand if you'd like to share your story. I will let you in. Let's let everybody in. Anybody that wants to come on camera and hang out with us. We feel a little lonely, you guys. We only have a few minutes left. And we have one little last fun poll where you're going to vote for the funniest. Yeah, so I see our David raised their hand. So Gabby, you're going to let them on. I think you just have to enable the sound.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm great.
How are you, Rebecca?
Hey.
I'm so
I'm good. How are you?
And Kathy, that's Rebecca from Kripalu.
Oh, hi.
She was here last week too.
Hey.
Great to see
I've
you.
got headphones on, so I couldn't tell if like you guys could hear me or if I was just like in my head or what's going on.
We got you.
I'm on a Zoom call, Ro.
Ask them what you think.
Oh my gosh, that would be my daughter and her friend. They're playing one of the dance games.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, will you close my door? Thank you. So yeah, so I have a crazy story. I actually fell in love in the middle of the pandemic.
Yes. That's
Wow.
So things had just started opening up for outdoor like music venues for safe social distancing. And my friend's band was playing and it was the day after my birthday, and ended up chatting with my friend Paul, who's one of the drummers, and like we're like acquaintances, and ended up exchanging numbers and deciding that we were going to go to another friend's gig. Well, we ended up playing phone tag all weekend, and finally he called me from his Sunday night gig and was like, "What are you doing at 10:30?" I said, "Nothing." He was like, and at the time my scapula was broken. I couldn't drive. I was like, "I can't leave my house." He's like, "I'll come over." I'm like, "You're gonna come over?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "We'll sit on your deck." I'm like, "Okay." And so that was June 21st. We've been inseparable ever since.
I love it. That's amazing.
It was just like kismet, like instant. He's a musician and I'm an artist, so we understand our creative lifestyle, and like that sometimes we work day jobs, but that's not our identity, and we support each other through that,
I like how you
which
put
is really great.
Mhm.
He is awesome with my daughter. He thinks that she is just like the funniest kid ever. And yeah, we're happy and it's amazing. So like, don't give up hope. It's out there.
I love it. Oh, I'm so happy for you, and I'm so glad to see you.
I'm so glad to see you too. Yeah, online dating is a wild, wild world. I tried it myself for a while, and it's just so strange. Like it made sense to me because I'm on the autism spectrum, so I know like my traits and I know what traits go well with me,
Yeah.
and I have to be aware of that. And so online dating made sense to me because it's like, oh, you check boxes, you fill things out, like I can filter through people, but there's still this level of like social interaction and like protocol for online that I missed somewhere along the line. So it was just like,
if you take things literal, right? It's like, what are they really saying when they say this? It could be a joke.
yeah,
You can't always
Well,
translate it.
you know,
I couldn't tell.
the thing that I will say that I've used to teach this a lot when I was in the elementary school about communication. I mean, only 7% of our communication, words are only 7% of our communication.
Mhm.
So like 35% is, you know, tone of voice. And then like 55%, somewhere around there, you know, is body language.
Mhm.
So you miss, and you know, we're energetic beings, right? So,
Right, right.
you know, and it's the energy really that you feel off of someone that,
Yeah, I can't read, so I can't read body language, but I can totally pick up energy. And
Yeah.
yeah,
like
energy.
that makes perfect sense to me, where
Yeah.
it's like, okay, like I can sense your vibe, and if we're gonna vibe together, this is gonna be great. And like that's awesome. But if not, then it's not gonna work. So yeah, it's
So
very strange.
Mm.
yeah, so it is tricky communication online. And you know, there's a lot of sometimes you know, because I have to do a lot through texting, and that, you know, in my relationship is long distance, right? So
Mhm.
we talk on the phone sometimes, but and we FaceTime obviously, but you know, sometimes, and I would say even at work, sometimes I'll get an email back from someone and I'm like, by the way they're responding, I don't think they read my message the way I intended it. You know, let me
Yeah.
call them up, and so they can hear the tone of my voice, that I'm not, you know, I'm not angry, I'm not fussing at them, I'm not, you know, but so I can just kind of set it straight.
Yeah.
But that's, I would say there's probably a lot of misunderstanding that happens in the online dating world because there's so
Yeah.
much texting back and forth. I mean, you're just missing all kinds of information.
Yeah, I did have one successful online relationship, and we broke up amicably, and not like an amicable divorce with a crazy stalker, but like a like we broke up because it wasn't the right time, and so that was last February. So it's been over so that was February, and then Paul and I got together in June. And I had been like waiting and waiting and waiting and thinking that we were going to get back together. And then finally I was just like, okay, I'm opened up to other possibilities. And that's when it fell in my lap. But Sean and I did work out very well. And if the timing wasn't off, we probably would have stayed together longer. And I don't know what would have happened. But I think what helped was he was on the spectrum too, and we both disclosed that.
That's
And we're
awesome.
just like, hey, I'm probably going to say the wrong thing, but I mean it in the best possible way. And sometimes I can't stand to be touched, but I still want to sit next to you. And like all of those little things that are common in our community and with people with brains like ours, you know?
I love that. I think that's just like, it really fits with this theme too of like self-advocacy, risk-taking, clarifying of communication, like, you know, knowing again, like in our, you know, how do we sort of like discern our own needs? How do we talk about it? And it takes, again, courage. And I think especially because if we look at this all from even a trauma-informed lens, I don't want, you know, this is a seriously funny show, right? So I don't want to minimize or underestimate the losses we experience, whether we lose someone to death or divorce or a breakup, or, you know, say there's infidelity, you know, like there's so much that can happen in our love life that is just so devastating and genuinely takes us time to heal and then reimagine our identities, rediscover who we are, know what we want, then to be able to communicate it. It's a tall order. And it takes a lot of work. And sometimes it can take a lot of mess ups and bloopers and, you know, and that's the part of where humor comes in. If we just can, you know, sometimes bring a little bit of humor to the situation, be more self-compassionate, and kind of go back to the drawing board around, you know, what it can look like.
I
Yeah.
also think yeah, I also think there's something about like, you know, when you're just being very authentic and you can kind of very matter of factly, like say, look, these are the struggles that I have in life. You know, these are my limitations. And like, can you live with those? Because, you know, one of the things that I was going to share, you know, is my grandmother's advice, like, right, when you actually get ready to think about maybe getting married, right? You want to kind of, you know, you take that list, that good list that you made. You want to make a list of all the good things about the person. Make a list of all the things that I'll call it your batshit crazy list, right? Of like that drives you crazy about the person. And then just take that good list. If that person checks all those boxes, just take that list and throw it out. Okay? Because it really, they got it. Can you live? Are you prepared to live with this person's limitations, or the stuff that drives you crazy? So my point is, you know, as much of that kind of stuff that you can get disclosed up front, I think really helps, you know, because you know, it's not like, oh, I'm hiding this thing about myself. And like, at some point you're going to find out, and hopefully you love me enough, you know, so that you won't abandon me. You know, if you come with it right up front, you know, then people are like, all right, I'm informed, you know, this person is being upfront with me. And like, and I'm going to make a conscious choice to like, yeah, these are some, because we all have weaknesses, and everybody, I think, has kind of a sense of like what they can tolerate, right? Like the weaknesses that they can live with. And I know that, like, you know, I would say for me, like I can tolerate some what would seem like weaknesses to other people really aren't really weaknesses to me, because
it's just different.
I don't need from someone, right? I don't need that person to fulfill that, but somebody else might see it as a weakness. But and that person even that I'm with might even see it as a weakness, but I don't.
Right.
You
And how
know?
refreshing when someone likes you're weird, you know, like I'm always like, I'll be weird because someone's gonna, you know. And I think the other thing, Rebecca, that your story illustrates too, is like it with disclosure can come a lot of bonding. Like at the end of the day, you discovered you had that connection, and like it became safe, and that allowed a deeper level of trust, I'm imagining. So I think that as well, like it's a risk, but it's like, why be in a relationship and just be walking on eggshells or feel like you have to hide of yourself? So I'm super happy to see Kathy Grace here. Hi, beautiful.
Yeah, hi, Kathy.
I want to just, we have one more poll, and then we're just going to kind of hang out and do a little bit more conversation together. But I just wanted to show you guys to conclude the show. Thank you, Rebecca, for sharing, because that was awesome. We have one more poll. So I have 4 that I thought were the most hilarious of all. So the first one was, I freeze all of my candy bars. What of it? Talk about a quirk. Hey, you know. Welcome to Juicy's. Nickname is a legit Juicy Juice. Number 3, I can't believe how many women on here post pictures with app filters. I'm going to be so disappointed you don't have animal ears when we meet. And this, I think, is my favorite. Single male seeks hostile woman for mutual psychological torture, codependency, and future divorce. So what do you guys think is the funniest one that I came across in my research experiment here? I love Georgia, kindness and accepting and honoring all diversity. Yes, 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 yes.
I would for this one, I would love to see the choice being you know, the what was it? The hostile woman, mutual psychological torture, codependency, and future marital therapy. Not future divorce, but you know, despite all this, they were still gonna hack through, you know, whatever the gaps are, and still add it. I think that would be
I
great.
can go back and see if I can find the profile and send them a message. Doctor,
right, yeah. That's our expert.
Psychiatrist in Boston. We'll help you. We could start a whole business on this. Dating interventions. All right, so I think people loved the last one too. I think it was very
yeah, that's my favorite.
The jaded residue, as I like to say. All right, and then we got the apps with the animal ears. Wow.
Yeah.
I look cute with animal ears. All right. Yeah, and Juicy Juice and candy bars tied for last. Awesome. So anybody else want to come on camera and be brave and hang out with us just for a few minutes? You've got some experts over here if you guys want to just chit chat a little bit more. I want to also show you a book. It's a tragic comedy book. is my favorite that I've read so far. Someone Who Will Love You in All Your Damaged Glory. It's by the writer of BoJack Horseman, which is a show. Oh my gosh, this was like pure therapy for me. It's all essays and hilarious and just like super, super wonderful. So I highly recommend this book as just to bring some more humor to the situation. But any other last questions, thoughts, stories, anything else that you guys want to cover tonight? Come hang. Yes, raise your hand, jump in. Don't be shy. We haven't been shy.
I'll say something.
Kathy.
No, I thought this was awesome. It was just perfect. I wasn't sure what the topic was going to be tonight. And it was just perfect for what's going on in my life right now, with relationships and stuff like that. And I think the one thing I'd like to contribute is, aside from, I have not been on the online dating stuff. Even though my daughter really, really wants me to be on it, I just can't get myself to do it yet. And, but to just kind of be open to opportunities that arise. Kathy, I've connected with a high school sweetheart.
Oh, nice.
Not even expected or anything like that. So like just kind of like remain open to every opportunity that you have. Things happen when you least expect it, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting how things happen. Exactly. Things happen sometimes when you least expect it.
Yes, very much so. But no, this was great. I mean, I love hearing everyone's experience, your experiences. I'm sorry. I see our David. What's your first name?
Oh, I'm Rebecca. I'm sorry. This is my school Zoom, and for Scat,
that's okay.
we just use our emails.
No, but I appreciate you sharing your stories, with your
thank you.
experiences. No, this was perfect for tonight for me.
Well, it's either going to scare you away from it or draw you closer, but you have friends who can coach you through. And it's true when I say Ying helped me, because I was just sort of marinating in a little bit of shame and stigma. And I was like, oh, like kind of shooting myself. I shouldn't need to do this or that. And, just recovering from my own trauma. And so it took but then I've met like some really great people, and so to me, and of course, like I have some really funny stories. I've got enough material for a lot more shows, guys.
Yeah, and it's just like different, it's like I'm kind of, it depends on what place you are in your life and your experiences and all that stuff. And I am not against the online stuff at all. It's just I haven't gotten myself personally to do that.
Well, send me the text. We should take this into deeper discussion if there's anything I can do to be helpful.
Okay.
Awesome. Anybody else have any last thoughts or last words for tonight? Thank you so much for joining. Remember to, for all of you that donated, I just want to thank you. A portion of the proceeds are going to the National Alliance on Mental Illness and the Acoma Project. Both are just really devoted to creating access for mental health. And, the show is about cracking up. If we can't laugh, we're going to cry, and laughter is the best medicine, and community is what really, keeps us going. So don't stigmatize yourself, and think about your relationship life. If you're in a relationship, how do you advocate for yourself? How do you keep building connection? If you're still, kind of looking through the landscape and just trying to make sense of it all, be gentle to yourself and, work with your friends. Like I'm lucky because my friends are not only phenomenal friends, but they're experts. I need it, guys. So thank you for being there for me. And thank you for being such a wonderful guest on the show. This has gone by super fast. Thanks, Jamu. And thank you, Georgia. And then Gabby, I want to thank you as well, because you are also putting in, thank you, Jacques. I'm so happy to see you. There's show notes from tonight, so you can read Kathy and Ying's long bios, and you'll be able to get the recording that's on YouTube from this. And then also next month, we're going to be talking about the cult of beauty on Friday, April 2nd. So thank you so much for being part of this early stage of our community building. Please invite your friends. Tell them it's the weirdest, seriously funny Zoom show around. And you can learn some good dance moves.
This was great. I love this.
Aw,
Thank you.
thank you. Yeah, and look
Have a
at
great night.
we're getting some of Ying's long bio in here. We're going to be here all night if we post your bios, you two Ivy.
Oh, no.
I'm a first-gen college student. I'm a proud Worcester Stater. You guys are like resumes 800 pages long. I love you. That's not why I love you.
Okay, well, I'm checking out because I have to go to dinner. I have a dinner.
Oh, enjoy.
Nice. Have
Enjoy.
fun.
Thanks for chatting.
Wonderful meeting you.
Have a
Much
great
love,
night.
much light. Take amazing care, everybody. Until next time. Thank you. Bye, Winnie. Bye, Jen.
Bye, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye. You too, Rebecca. And thank you
Thanks.
so much, Gabby. Good night, everybody. Bye, Yang. Bye, Kathy. Thank you.